Hi, welcome to today's deep dive summary of Ultra Learning by Scott Young, Part 1. Ultra Learning is a concept and methodology developed and explored in depth by Scott Young, which emphasizes an aggressive, self-directed approach to mastering hard skills and acquiring knowledge at a rapid pace. In a world where formal education and traditional learning paths often fall short in equipping individuals with the skills required in the real world, ultra learning emerges as a compelling alternative that challenges conventional wisdom. The core premise of the book is that people can take control of their own learning in a deliberate, disciplined, and efficient way, achieving remarkable results through personalized, intense learning projects that yield real and lasting competence. Scott Young begins by challenging the idea that only institutions can grant knowledge and authority. Instead, he posits that some of the most successful individuals in history and contemporary life have used self-directed learning to gain a competitive advantage. These individuals apply methods that are not necessarily new, but have been refined to achieve mastery in a fraction of the time it would take through conventional means. Through a series of case studies, including his own well-publicized MIT challenge, and others like Benny Lewis's language learning exploits, and Eric Barone's solo development of Stardew Valley, Young illustrates how self-motivated learners are achieving incredible feats by designing their own learning curriculums, applying focused effort, and maintaining a level of intensity that is typically absent from traditional education. The MIT challenge, which Scott Young completed in just 1 year, involved him attempting to learn the entire 4-year computer science curriculum of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology using freely available course materials online. What makes this feat so significant is not just the pace or scope, but the methodology behind it. Young didn't just passively consume lectures. He actively engaged with the material, worked through problem sets, took exams, and practiced until he reached a level of competence comparable to graduates of the program. This example becomes the foundation for many of the principles he advocates in the book, showing how learning can be structured, intense, and outcome-focused when undertaken with clarity and purpose. One of the first principles Young introduces is meta-learning, which he defines as learning about how to learn the subject. This phase is often overlooked, but it is crucial in developing a roadmap that guides the entire learning journey. Meta-learning involves researching how others have learned the subject, identifying the core concepts, skills, and materials that define mastery, and structuring the learning project accordingly. This means separating procedural knowledge from declarative knowledge, understanding how people use the skill in real-world settings, and recognizing the types of problems one will need to solve. Meta-learning provides direction and prevents the learner from wasting time on irrelevant details or inefficient resources. It also builds awareness of the typical pitfalls and allows one to adapt strategies based on what has worked for others. Another foundational element of ultra-learning is the principle of focus. Young emphasizes that deep concentration is not a luxury, but a necessity for meaningful learning. In a world filled with distractions, from smartphones to social media, maintaining prolonged, uninterrupted attention is becoming increasingly difficult, yet it remains one of the most powerful tools for skill acquisition. Ultra-learners cultivate an ability to resist distractions and engage deeply with the task at hand. Young highlights that focus is a trainable skill, not an innate trait. It can be strengthened through deliberate practice, environmental modifications, and mental conditioning. He offers insights into managing attention, overcoming procrastination, and breaking work into sessions that optimize cognitive performance. The ability to sustain focus for hours at a time, especially when tackling difficult or abstract material, is a hallmark of ultra-learners and distinguishes them from more casual or passive students. Directness is another essential principle in the ultra-learning strategy. Young argues that learning should closely mirror the environment in which the knowledge or skills will be used. This idea draws from educational psychology and the theory of transfer, which holds that people are more likely to retain and apply what they learn when they practice it in a context similar to its real-world application. For example, someone learning a language should prioritize real conversations over grammar drills. A programmer should write actual code rather than just reading about programming concepts. Ultralearners therefore strive to simulate real conditions and adopt learning activities that are functionally identical to the performance tasks they aim to master. This principle pushes learners out of their comfort zones but ensures that the skills they acquire are usable and durable in practical settings. Young also explores the power of drilling, but in a nuanced way. He notes that while drilling is often associated with rote memorization or mechanical repetition, when done strategically, it becomes a powerful tool for improving specific weaknesses. Drills should not be arbitrary, but should isolate the exact part of a skill that is holding back overall performance. By identifying these bottlenecks and designing focused exercises to overcome them, learners can make targeted improvements that have a disproportionately positive effect on their capabilities. This approach contrasts with merely doing more of the same, and instead embraces intelligent practice, deliberately selecting and honing subcomponents of a skill until they reach the desired level of fluency. Retrieval is another learning principle Scott Young strongly emphasizes, noting that memory is best strengthened not by rereading or reviewing, but by actively pulling information out of the brain. This concept is supported by cognitive science, particularly the testing effect, which shows that trying to recall information enhances learning more effectively than passive review. Ultralearners use frequent self-testing, practice problems, and teaching others as ways to retrieve and reinforce knowledge. This not only solidifies memory, but also reveals gaps in understanding, allowing for more precise and adaptive study strategies. Young points out that learners often misjudge their knowledge when they rely solely on how familiar information feels. True competence is better assessed by one's ability to recall and use information independently, which is why retrieval is so central to the ultralearning methodology. The book also dives into the idea of feedback and its role in accelerating learning. Feedback, while often uncomfortable, is necessary for correcting errors, adjusting course, and refining performance. Ultralearners seek out high-quality feedback that is immediate, specific, and actionable. They do not rely solely on internal assessments or vague impressions, but expose their work to others who can provide honest evaluations. Whether it's a mentor, a peer, or a public audience, feedback serves as a mirror that reflects the actual quality of performance and allows the learner to make informed improvements. Scott Young discusses different types of feedback, including outcome feedback, informative feedback, and corrective feedback, each with varying degrees of utility. He also warns against the dangers of ego and defensiveness, which can hinder the willingness to accept and act on feedback. Cultivating a mindset that welcomes criticism and treats failure as a source of information is vital for sustained growth. Thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for next upcoming part of this book.